I am currently based in Bowie, Maryland. I work within the realm of textiles, and my medium within textiles is weaving. My current practice started off with two questions in which I was sort of struggling with my making using the tools I had been taught to be made, and I wanted to sort of understand why I had that frustration with my making. I also wanted to see and be more aware of how I understand myself as a person who has immigrated to the States. I wanted to sort of see how that was reflected in how and what I made. I was born in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago, and within that realm of making, there's carnival culture, and carnival culture is sort of this space in which there's constant remaking, be one thing and expand to something else and come back to itself, sort of a making that makes sense to the society in which Trinidad is. My path along to answer those questions sort of led me to develop my own tool for weaving, which is a modular tool for weaving that allows me to sort of make changes to the objects I'm weaving. I could assemble the tool in different ways. As this is something that is new for me, it's really discovering what this tool can do and really understanding how my hand works in conjunction with the tool. There's something about working with the hand that's always appealed to me. I've always loved weaving, but it took me a while to really find the part of weaving that made sense to me. I had been struggling in terms of the objects that I've made, and I've recently sort of come to the conclusion, for me, it's the process where a lot of the reflection, thinking, and pondering happens for me, and the object sort of becomes this archive that doesn't really reveal, but it does reveal sort of the process of making. I'm sort of really thinking back to how making occurred before we had a history of making. Sort of came to me in a moment of a great momentum to finish a lot of work, and I sort of had a thought, and I was like, why are you continuing to sort of force these tools to make objects? In order to make what you wanted to make, you have to make the tool. One of the first iterations that sort of led to what the tool is now, I designed it and I had someone else make the tool. I had it for less than a month, and I immediately knew that that iteration of this tool that I wanted to make was not going to facilitate. I had to be the maker of the tool, and I had to figure out a way of making that allowed me to see something that I needed, be able to execute it, and be able to like pull back that new element of the tool. That sort of led me to laser cutting, because I have a background in architecture. So a lot of the beginnings were trying to sort of figure out what parts I needed to sort of allow me to weave. The more I sort of made and reworked that tool, it sort of became an idea of like, how does it stand up, and how does it go on the wall, and how do I warp this tool? And you know, it's not about warping the tool and weaving on one side. Like, how do I sort of work on both sides? It's not really about the object made, but the process of making. I sort of started really digging in and thinking about the ideas of weaving and how, you know, traditionally how materials are sort of intertwined to make woven objects, and really thinking and asking, are there other ways to sort of make in terms of weaving that will allow me to allow this thing that's woven in tension and flat, once it's taken off from this tool, sort of allow it to sort of take on shapes and sort of take on form. It doesn't have like a set understanding in terms of how it's applied to the wall. It's something that's constantly changing in terms of, you know, who's putting it on the wall and what part the person who's interacted with notices first. So things that are not fixed, they're sort of constantly moving. But being at Bemis has allowed me to have access to a floor loom, taking a lot of the techniques I've sort of developed on my modular loom in terms of how I'm weaving into the warp, and sort of I'm applying that to the floor loom. Just been a sort of a space that has just allowed me to sort of really flush out and work out a lot of technique ideas that I've sort of developed on the other tool.